Mr. Secretary,
what's up?
Ask you a question. You were just at the final of the Spanish-Argentina. I wanted to have your thoughts. And are you converted to football?
Am I what?
Have you converted to football?
Oh, I've always been a fan of it. I'm an admirer of it. It's a global sport. Look, first of all, I'm very, congratulations, obviously, to Spain. We had time today to spend with both the President and His Majesty, the King, and the Queen. I have a lot of friends from Argentina, so obviously sad for them. But I'm very proud of America. I think America did a phenomenal job hosting the games. So did Canada and Mexico. And I hope a lot of people who got to come here and visit got to see aspects of our country that I think sometimes we take for granted. You know, things about our nation that are so special that sometimes I think those of us who have lived here our whole lives maybe forget or take for granted. So I was on the phone on the way up here wondering when the next one we can bid on is, because it was such a spectacular event for the country, and so very happy about it.
Secretary, last week the President talked about China's meddling in the 2020 U.S. election. Is the visit by President Xi Jinping that he had mentioned around September 24, is that still on track? And is the strategic stability relationship between the U.S. and China, the trade truce, are those things still on track despite this evidence that the President mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, look, we anticipate that the trip is happening in September. They've continued to send over their teams to prepare for it. I've heard nothing otherwise. I have no reason to believe that they won't be coming. It's important. There will always be, when you have two big, powerful countries like the United States and China, there are always going to be irritants. There are always going to be things we don't agree on. But I think it's incumbent on powerful and important countries like ours to continue to talk and have a relationship. We owe it to each other and to our people and to the world.
Mr. Secretary, we're on the ninth day straight of strikes now with Iran. Iran is launching new strikes. Are we back at square one? And what is the objective of these latest strikes?
I think CENTCOM has laid it out exactly what the objectives are. The only reason why the U.S. is conducting strikes is against assets of Iran that are being used to attack global commercial shipping. The Straits of Hormuz are international waterway, and they continue to launch against ships in that international waterway. Other countries should join us in this effort, but the United States is involved not just in protecting those ships, but in targeting the places that they use to launch these missiles and drones. So that's what you're seeing. That's what the objective of this mission, and that's what it continues to be. And we continue on a daily basis very successfully to degrade Iran's ability to target and ships. You hear about the ships that have been struck. You don't hear about the ones that have been defended and the ones they haven't been able to launch against. But as long as Iran insists on controlling an international waterway, we're going to have to respond to that.
Do you see a diplomatic off-ramp still? Do you believe that I
think we're always open to diplomacy. It has to be real. It has to be a deal that they're willing to live by. Look, Iran a week ago was supposed to put out a statement saying that the Straits of Hormuz would be open, that they would no longer attack shipping. And instead of doing that, they attacked 3 ships. I think that was last Friday or Saturday. So, I mean, their behavior has to change in order for ours to change.
Is the MOU dead?
What?
Is the MOU dead, or are we just back in full-scale war?
Well, they're not complying with it. I mean, the straits are supposed to be open, free of tolls, free of attack, free of all the things they're doing against these ships. So you can't have an MOU that's alive if they're violating the terms of it. What I will say is that the United States always remains open to a diplomatic solution. We've tried multiple times with Iran, and we'll continue to try. If that door opens, we'll be happy to see it open. But and they continue to send signals that they want to talk, that they want to negotiate. But their behavior is what we're responding to. And their behavior is they're launching missiles and drones against ships, including tonight.
What recent signals have you heard from the Iranians that they want to negotiate?
Directly and through multiple channels to other countries as well. They continue to send signals that way. But look, I also think it's growing apparent that even within their own system, there's a growing split. I think maybe some of your outlets have documented this. Between those that understand that their economy is in shambles and they need to do something, or they're going to be in a lot of trouble very soon, economically and domestically, and others who are very militant in their view of life and in their view of the world and continue to launch missiles. So they'll have to work out that split internally. We're going to continue to respond. If the door opens to diplomacy, if the guys that want to do something productive for Iran win and take control of that system or take control of the negotiations, that'll be a very positive development. That's not where we are tonight, unfortunately.
Mr. Secretary, what is your main goal? You're headed to Southeast Asia. What do you want?
Well, this summit, ASEAN, is our primary way of engaging the region. We're committed to it. I was there last year. I also went with the president when he went for the Leaders Summit. and we're returning again this year. And it gives us an opportunity not just to participate in this gathering, but also to do a lot of bilateral meetings. We'll also have meetings with the Quad of India and Australia and Japan and ourselves. We'll also have a trilateral meeting with South Korea and Japan, which is another forum we pursued. I think we'll have an opportunity potentially to meet with the foreign minister of Vietnam and a couple other countries. Obviously, also have a chance to visit the president there in the Philippines, which is a country I have not yet visited as Secretary of State. So it's a long way to go. We appreciate you guys joining us on the trip, but it's an important forum for us.
Secretary, can you give us an update on Venezuela in terms of the rebuilding and reconstruction efforts in Venezuela following the earthquakes? What's the U.S. commitment to Venezuela at this point?
Well, it's already upwards of $180 million, and we'll do more. The Venezuelans will do more. I think we're trying to help them get access to global funding and credit as well for the rebuilding. They're still working through an estimate on the total costs, and it'll be substantial, both of removal of debris and then building new things. By the same token, very good news last week. I thought it was a little bit underreported, to be frank, and that is that a group representing the 2015 National Assembly, the last democratically elected National Assembly, the group that we recognize as the legitimate government of Venezuela, had a meeting with the interim government, and they've agreed to set up a format and a forum, not just for reconciliation talks, but to begin this transition process, which is what the people of Venezuela needs. I think their first official talks will begin the first week of August. I thought that was a very powerful outcome. Obviously, we'll see where it goes, but we think that agreement was broadly met in Venezuela as very good news, and obviously something we're going to be very engaged in.
Do you plan to meet with the Chinese foreign minister or Lavrov while you're out there for the ASEAN summit?
I'm not sure we've finalized that, but we'd be open to meeting with them, sure.
And would you bring up anything about the Chinese election meddling claim that Trump...
Well, I would never tell you guys in a press conference what we would raise in meetings like that. Those are delicate matters. I mean, we'll see how the meeting goes. We'll talk about things that are important. We're certain. Because we want to go, guys. So what else?
What was your reaction to the president saying he wanted to charge a 20% toll on cargo in the...
Yeah, but I think what the president was saying basically is that the United States, every night is taking on the burden of protecting global shipping. Virtually none of those vessels are flagged U.S. Almost none of those vessels are delivering cargo or fuel to the United States. So we are basically providing the service of protecting these ships on behalf of the world, and we're the only ones doing anything about it. So what the president is basically raising the point is, at some point, the countries and the nations benefiting from the shipping through the straits should be able to step forward and provide at least financial assistance for the cost of providing this very valuable service. That's what the president was alluding to. Now, he pointed out after the fact as well that some of the countries who are shipping product through the straits are investing hundreds of billions of dollars in the United States, and he'll credit that towards them as far as this effort. But I do think the world is coming to a point now where it's clear that Iran, at least some people in Iran, want to control the straits and hold that as leverage against the world. And the world has to decide whether or not it's going to allow an international waterway to be under the control of a country like this, which is completely illegal, unlawful, and unacceptable. The United States will do and continue to do what it needs to protect global shipping, but other countries need to begin to step up and provide, whether it's hardware or finances, to help carry that burden. It is not the United States' job to protect shipping for the entire planet forever.
What is the word on these investments that Trump said Gulf countries would be doing in exchange for protection in the strait?
Well, some of those investments have already been committed to, and there are others that we believe they'll commit to in the future. But obviously, a lot of that is dependent on the health and the vibrancy of their own economies. They have to be able to generate revenue in order to make these investments. And they won't be able to do that if their oil and natural gas isn't getting to the marketplace.
You saw the leaders of Mexico and Canada today at the World Cup.
We had a good time with them.
Were the discussions at all about policy, or was it entirely...
Well, I can't speak to everything. I know the president had some conversations that I wasn't privy to with them. But for the most part, it sounded to me like three countries who did a good job working together, hosting this World Cup with Canada and Mexico. The cooperation was extraordinary. I think they were just having a good time, and there's good chemistry, especially with President Sheinbaum. Obviously, we have some issues with Mexico that are very difficult and important for us. But I don't think the World Cup game was probably the best place to discuss them. But we're glad she came, and we're glad the Prime Minister came as well.
Can you tell us about your meeting with the Lebanese president today?
Very positive this morning. I think, as I said, the future of Lebanon, the best thing that could happen for Lebanon is to have a government, a legitimate government, his government, that controls the country. The biggest problem Lebanon has is that you have a political movement that also has an armed militia that is not just well-armed and trained and equipped and financed by Iran, but they use that to conduct terrorism, particularly against northern Israel. And as long as that problem exists, Lebanon will never truly be at peace. And so how do you defeat Hezbollah? How do you replace Hezbollah? You defeat and replace them with a government that is strong enough to be the sole source of arms in the country, basically the security of Lebanon in the hands of the Lebanese armed forces, and a government that's able to provide prosperity for its people. So we talked about the opportunities to do that. This is not just about military stuff. This is about how can we attract more U.S. and international investment into Lebanon. This is about things like how can we restart direct flights between the United States and Lebanon that are, right now you can't do that. So we're going to start a process to examine if that's possible and when that can be done. So we had a good meeting, and I think he'll leave on Tuesday. We'll have a very positive meeting with President Trump. And I think President Ayoun will be able to return to Lebanon and say to the people of Lebanon that he is the one that's getting positive results for the people, all Lebanese, including Christians, Sunni, and Shia, and Bedouin, and Druze, all the people of a very diverse country, not Hezbollah, not Iran. He is the legitimate government. He is who we're going to work with, and that government is the government that should be in charge of that country. All right, last one.
If the factions in Iran that are working toward diplomacy, if they don't win out, what next? What happens? And do you have a message?
Well, I don't think it'll be good for Iran. I mean, Iran's economy is in shambles. They're at 300% inflation, particularly on life-sustaining goods. They have dwindling revenues to meet even their own payroll. They have food shortages. They have a drought, which we didn't cause, but they have a gasoline shortage and a fuel shortage. All these problems existed before all of this began. They've just gotten worse. They will continue to get worse. And one of the reasons why Iran is in shambles, this is a rich country. Iran is a rich country. One of the reasons why Iran is in shambles is because every penny that this regime there gets, be it through sanctions relief or through the oil they're able to get out, they invested in Hezbollah. They invested in Hamas. They spend billions of dollars supporting militias in Iraq, Hezbollah, and Hamas. They should be spending billions of dollars supporting the people of Iran. They should be spending billions of dollars building their country. But instead, they use it to sponsor terrorism. So I think there's a growing awareness of that inside of Iran. And I think there's even a growing awareness of that among some of the people in their government. In fact, we have heard that from some of the people in their government. But obviously, you know, there's a tension there, and we'll see how that plays out. I can't tell you how it's going to play out. It's up to them.
All right? Message on the fallen troops, sir. The fallen troops.
Oh, yeah, look, obviously, I think sometimes when you look at this stuff, we take for granted that our military is so effective that the mission they carry out is very, very dangerous. And so we lost people in Jordan after there was a strike. A missile got through. We shot down almost all the missiles. One leaked through, hit the wrong place, and tragically, and it's heartbreaking. And our hearts go out to these families. These are heroes that pay the ultimate price. We also lost a service member in Iraq, unrelated to combat. They were decommissioning a munition, and an accident happened in that process, and they were harmed. But look, our military all over the world, especially in that part of the world, but all over the world every single day, do very dangerous things. We've had people who lost their lives in training missions. Nothing the military does is safe. It's all inherently dangerous, and we're just grateful to have such heroic Americans in uniform in the service of our countries. And obviously, it goes without saying, we're praying for their families and praying for their souls, and we are grateful that we have people like that serving us, both those who we have lost and those who at this very moment are on the watch and defending our interests around the world.